Welcome to Journeys into Enlightenment with Janet. Join Janet and her friends as they gather at the intersection of consciousness and self-experience, what being consciousness in human form is all about. Access heart-centered awareness with them and feel the difference in the moment that will last a lifetime.
Hello, and thank you for joining me on Journeys into Enlightenment with Janet. I'm your host, Janet Barrett. Each episode, I invite you to join me and a friend in conversations about being. Our topic and their individual and unique senses of being expand the collective state of awareness that we call consciousness. Take a moment to sit back or lie down and relax, or just allow that part of you that is listening as you do other things to breathe. Each topic is opening field awareness for all of us about the infinite ways we demonstrate being. Being human, being in form, having a sense of self, and what is within each of us at our core that has no form. I am calling it essence in this conversation today. It is our individual sense of wonder in being a part of consciousness with all that includes. It is there in each of us. Do you notice your deepening breath? Consciousness has no bias, no sense of judgment about what is and isn't, and time and space are malleable. We access this state every episode and invite you to join us where shift can actively happen in our patterns of what we consider to be each of us. Each episode builds on the one before, enriching and deepening our connection to what I call heart-centered awareness, the field of unified consciousness. All the elements presented resonate differently for each of us. Language is not to limit or define, but to appreciate how we are all expressing the same thing through different references. Enjoy them for what they are at heart, and you will find yourself carried along. All these references and dynamics that are a part of Mmatheo and my conversation holds enough for 2 episodes, so that is what I have created. It was challenging to locate a stopping point. We begin here in episode 9, and our conversation concludes in episode 10. Still breathing? Today's episode is all about the holes in our wholeness. What role does illness play in our expression as a spiritual creature in a human form? Each of our bodies represents wholeness in being. Illness can take form and register in our mental, emotional, or physical realms, creating a sense of holes in our wholeness. My friend Dr. Mmatheo Motsisi holds degrees in Indigenous and Chinese healing and appreciates Western medicine with its different references. She joins me in conversation about how our spirits expressing in the human form and how to listen to what is being said through our bodies. Our words this episode are consciousness, spirit, essence, soul, depending on the referencing present. Both Mmatheo and I use different frameworks in our conversation. Both will hold value for you, whatever your framework is. Our field awareness of being is spectrum-oriented, free, and also appreciative of the biases of religion and beliefs, language, and form. We start off with a wonderful meditation, Imagine Perfect Health, from Interlude, an internet retreat as our lead-in.
Imagine perfect health. Consciousness affects physiology. If you vividly imagine eating a lemon with its tartness, the spritz of juice as you bite into the lemon, the sensation of your lips and tongue on the yellow pulp, the tart lemon smell, you may notice yourself salivating. If you think angry thoughts, your heart beats faster and your blood pressure goes up. If you imagine yourself in a frightening situation, let's say giving a speech to a large group, you might feel your stomach flutter and your palms sweat. Our bodies are designed to respond to mental imagery. Researchers in psychoimmunology have begun to demonstrate the relationship between thought and immune system response. Mental factors help determine how our bodies respond to illness. Stress, for instance, is known to suppress the immune response. Conversely, hope, joy, and expectation of healing are associated with improved immune response. If thought has the power to affect our health, then it behooves us to practice thinking in a way that enhances our health. The following meditation may help you to direct your mind towards healing and wholeness. Find a comfortable position where you can relax. This may be sitting or lying down. Loosen any clothing so you won't feel constricted. Take a few slow, deep breaths. Let the air out slowly and let it come back in naturally as it wants to. Your breathing is unrushed and unforced. Remind yourself to relax. Scan your body for tension, and where you find it, invite your muscles to let it go and just relax. Take your time. Breathe like this calmly and comfortably for a few minutes, or longer if you like. Let go of any distracting thoughts you may have. Just be with your body and your breath. Now sense the shape of your body. See if you can become aware of the boundary between your physical body and the space around it. You may feel pressure where your body meets the surface that supports it. You may feel the movement of air or heat or coolness on the surface of your skin. You may feel the touch of fabric against your skin. You may perceive other body sensations that tell you where your body is. Notice now the sensations inside your body as you continue to breathe comfortably and relax. You may feel tingling or pulsing in parts of your body. You may have sensations of warmth or coolness. Notice what's happening inside you. Create in your mind an image of your whole body where it is right now. See in your mind the shape and volume of your physical form. Now, recognize that your body is made up of innumerable tiny living cells. These cells make up every living part of you. They form your skin, your bones, your muscles, your organs, your brain and nervous system. From top to bottom, inside and out, you are living as the coordinated process of this vastly complex intelligent system. These cells each have their function. When your system is in balance, each cell knows what to do. The cells and the organic systems they compose support you as a living being. As your cellular body does its life work, the individual cells take in energy. They use it to carry on their life processes. Oxygen is combusted, fluids are moved, food is digested, nerve cells fire in rhythmic patterns, muscles are empowered. You move or don't move as the need arises. Visualize all this activity as energy in your body. See this energy as light. Your body glows as each of your innumerable cells performs its function. Whether your cells are busy or at rest, they pulse with energy. Imagine that while you're having this quiet time, the pulsing is calm and harmonious. Now think of all this inner light as consciousness. Your body is an intelligent system. It knows how to continue doing what it is doing, and it knows how to respond to differing circumstances. It knows how to nourish itself, to heal itself, to become more or less active in response to the environment. All all the enormous complexity of you as a living system is maintained by the activity of consciousness. It may be happening below the level of your awareness, but consciousness is the mover in you as a physical body. Now use your mind to enhance and harmonize the life processes happening in your body. Imagine that all is well with your body. See in your mind this conscious energy body in its perfect, whole, and complete form. You are filled with light. You are filled with consciousness. You are calm. All your body systems are in a harmonious balance of wellness. Your inner healing system knows how to protect you. Your mind and body are at peace, so all systems are able to work unimpeded by emotional confusion. Affirm now that your body is intelligent. It is capable of sustaining your miraculous life. It has the wisdom at the cellular level to heal disease and create a balanced state of wellness. This mental picture you are forming of your body in its perfect state is like a template for your cellular intelligence to follow. You are your cells. You are your body. You are your consciousness, both above and below the level of awareness. Hold in your mind the image of your body in a perfect state of health. Invite your body to attune to that image. Carry this image of your light body, your consciousness body, with you. Calm yourself often and invite your body-mind to fulfill your image of perfect health.
Dr. Mmatheo Motsisi lives and runs her holistic medical practice in Orange Grove, Johannesburg, South Africa. We have become Skype friends as a result of her guest appearances on my shows. When we were connecting about this episode, she was dealing with a lot of stress that is present in her homeland. She is a passionate woman about what she knows in being and loves to share about what is possible in being in form. Mmatheo is an Indigenous knowledge systems practitioner. She holds several degrees of healing, and among them in traditional Chinese medicine and acupuncture. Her name, Mmatheo, means foundation. She embodies and expresses Ubuntu, a Swahili word meaning a quality that includes the essential human virtues of compassion and humanity. She has traveled extensively, participating in healing practices and rituals of indigenous people of the world in Nepal, India, China, the U.S. of A., and motherland Africa. Her quest to unravel the mysteries that underlies the foundation anchoring our state of oneness, beyond the created and perceived divisions in existence, a letter to pursue the path less traveled. In July 2017, she released her book, Odyssey of a Healer. This was a transpersonal study that spanned over 10 years, exploring the healing power of nature. It captures her spiritual pilgrimage and the experiences of other healers she has interacted with during her many travels. Her deep passion for natural ways of healing and honoring the practices of indigenous people around the world has propelled her to be a voice for the voiceless. She is a vessel to liberally share her spiritual insight with others in their pursuit to unravel the mystery about Mother Nature as the giver of life, their nurturer and healer. She has been hosted nationally and internationally by various radio and television stations. You can read her complete bio at her website, www.mmatheomotsisi.com. That's MMATHEOMOTSISI.com. Oh, hello, Mmatheo. How are you doing, dear?
I'm okay. I'm well after the energy work we had together yesterday. Thank you for balancing my energy levels, you know.
Oh,
yeah. I needed that shift.
Well, it was my pleasure. You have so much going on in your country that you're in the field of. And so anything we can do to help support you is my thing. So today we're going to talk about consciousness and the wholes and wholeness, which for me, when I was thinking about this, was how each of us in our humanity and in our essence, and these words are all going to get interchangeable because we represent maybe perhaps two different languages about all this. It's about where spirit and the humanity part meet, and that how in what we perceive and as what our experience becomes, we can feel less than at times, that there can be a disconnect or a miscommunication or a dis-ease in what we experience, and we call those symptoms. And it's all reflective of whatever words we use. It is the spirit, the essence within us that is expressing itself through the form as self, and that exchange that's happening there. And you being such a great medical professional with all your trainings and traditions of the Chinese influences and the indigenous people influences bring to that field awareness a much deeper appreciation and understanding, and perhaps simpler approaches that we can get caught up, when we want to go to the doctor or think we have something wrong with us. Does that make sense?
Yes, it does.
Yeah, you being in Johannesburg, you're exposed to Western and Eastern and indigenous traditions all in the same place, right?
Yes.
How do you keep it all straight?
Let me say this. From my upbringing, when you have that special gift, I've always been rooted into indigenous healing practices. I think that's one thing that actually led me to go to medical school and study medicine. And then after completion of my degree, I felt there was still a gap. The medicine, Western concept of medicine, takes the whole and divides the whole into fragments. Coming from an indigenous background, we do not divide the whole into fragments. So there was already a conflict. And then I went further and I felt, let me explore, let me not just put myself in a bottle with my indigenous background, let me explore further. And I was drawn to study Chinese medicine. And I felt there was a coherence with the indigenous thought from my upbringing and with Chinese medicine, because Chinese medicine treats the whole. It does not divide the whole into fragments. And in my practice, I practice holistic approach in a sense that I do not divide the whole into fragments. I address the whole as a whole. I look at the spirit, I look at the body. I'll say I look at the spirit and I look at the body, just for vocabulary sense. Basically, to me, as you walk in, I look at the whole and I receive inputs from the whole, whether it's spiritual, whether it's symptoms, information gets transmitted from the whole, the triune being.
That is the wholes and the wholeness, right? That really encapsulates how we experience in this, the totality. I think wholeness is a word I really embrace. And that's the totality of what we are. And we're not just in the body and we have a cold and we have a stubbed toe and we have that. We have all the factors and energies that are present in us being who we are in that moment. So everybody, I think you can feel we're going to go really deep places. So with your permission there, Mmatheo, we're going to just take a moment and just get as present as we can. Would that be all right? And bring the audience into where they are with us. So yeah, it's a good place. So you have two women here holding earth for you guys, all right? So, and just noticing already your breath relaxing, right? And noticing that things are easing a bit. You've already had our opening and Tom's meditation, and you can feel the state is present already. So that's why it didn't come to mind as soon as she and I started our conversation. I just want to make sure for all, there are no lost lambs. How about that? That comes to mind. In noticing there's so much wisdom in each of us, whether we access it or not, whether we've converted what gives us wisdom into wisdom. Greg Braden years ago was about how the wound is the gift, and what comes out of the wound is the gift, is the wisdom. And that always impressed me years ago. To look at life that way, that whatever our challenges are, they serve us in some context. And it's not always apparent, and it's certainly not always apparent to self. But in the wholeness that we encompass, it has place. And it has meaning, whatever meaning we choose to give to it. So everyone, just notice. There we go. There's a lot of, feels like anxiety present, a shortness of breath. So we're just going to notice that. It's not about changing or fixing anything. It's about appreciating our ability to hold awareness, not judge. But if we're in a place of discernment, I think that's more essence is at present. That's consciousness for us. So just notice there'll always be things going on. There'll always be energies about. We have something like 10 million electrical lightning strikes around the globe in any one moment, I think is what I was listening to the other day. So everything's a charge. Everything's in motion. So just write it out a little bit. There we go. And hold your heart, everyone. You know how big a heart can be, like a blue whale. And we know our hearts in our chest are about the size of our hand. Just put your hand to your heart. Reassure it that you're there. Feel it respond to you. There you go. All right, Mmatheo, how you doing there?
Yeah, traveled and more relaxed. You know, it's when you allow yourself to live in the moment and remember that more than beyond this physical body, your spirit. And during this meditation, you allow the spirit to occupy its pedestal or its seat or its position. Nothing is impossible.
Well, and it's always there, right? We just move in and out of awareness of it, right? Sometimes we think we have to chase things or go find something. And the truth is, if you just allow yourself to recognize that it's already inherent in you, yes, and that it has information easily at hand if you choose to organize yourself around your intuitive awareness and what's possible to be seen and thought of and felt. That's the totality. That's the wholeness. And then self is going to register where the holes are. You know, where something seems missing, and I think that's why I use I enjoy English language, and then you got wholeness, and then there's the whole, right? And then there's the holy, which it's like, oh, okay, we're playing with words here, pretty good. So, and I think where the holes show up in our awareness is where our grace to be found. But if you don't need pardon, it's where your contrast is showing up, right? That things, how we reconcile. It's where the fun is, to be honest with you, to me, even when it doesn't feel like fun. But as essence, I think that's where the delight in being happens, is where there's a challenge to be experienced. So tell us about how you help people. What is it that do you see? Is it a mix of the spirit and then the body, or is it always because you have such a broad understanding of interaction, is that, I would think, is your great strength as a medical professional, is that you have all these different appreciations. What is there? It's the chicken or the egg and the chicken, or where is it? It's all at once, right? Something shows up and we experience it in some way, and then we feel something about it.
I think we actually jumping the gun. Let's move a little bit backwards,
Okay.
I think we need to understand that we are of water and spirit. 70% of what makes the human body is water. And then the spirit. Then all that, it's what we can say. Spirit, it's immaterial. The body, it's material, it's form. We look at our planet, Mother Earth, almost 70%, more than 70%, it's water, and then it's spirit. Spirit, different elements we're talking about. We are made up of the same elements that makes our planet Mother Earth. If we can go back and actually maybe pause and appreciate what are we made of, mostly it's immaterial. But we tend to focus more on the material, which is the body. So the elders back home, they've always emphasized, and I also emphasize that based on my spiritual journey, my growth in my own spiritual journey, and my also experiences and whatever knowledge that I've acquired this side, that we are of water and spirit. Everything that came into existence was birthed through water. So we are of water and spirit. And if we can understand that we are of water and spirit, and realize that the body that we worship, the body that we put so much emphasis on, is just a tip of an iceberg. Let me go back.
Frozen water, yeah. Okay,
Let me go back and say also, moving a little bit from acquired knowledge, but I'll also blend it with a bit of spirituality and whatever it's being impressed on my spirit. We have the conscious mind and we have the subconscious mind. The mind is immaterial. When I talk about the mind, I'm not talking about the brain, which is material, which is in our skull, contained, covered by the skull. The brain is material. The mind is immaterial. The mind is aligned and connected with the universal mind or the universal consciousness, which is the foundation and the source of life. So, if I were to consider myself an immortal, somebody will say, what do I mean? I say I'm an immortal being because of the consciousness in me, the spirit in me, which is superior to the vessel this petite body that needs food and everything and attention. How do we end up being sidetracked? The conscious mind is the creator within, is the self, the voice of our thought, the carrier of visions and plans. The subconscious mind is the information processor, the programmable hard drive. The subconscious mind is driven by instinct and behavioral patterns, and it always functions on an autopilot. Stimulus response. It's mostly impacted by the behavioral patterns and acquired beliefs through religion and other institutions that have been programmed. The first 7 years of a child, the child downloads information. It's embedded in the subconscious mind. As if, I don't know how we do things here on earth, but since I'm part of it, I've sort of like, if you can't beat them, join them. I've sort of like, okay, this is how it's done. The first 7 years, we download programs, and then it's embedded in our subconscious. Then you start going to school. The education system again, you download programs. Religion again, you download programs. Government again, you download programs. So basically, we are programmed beings. Mm-hmm. When you are a programmed beings, you work on autopilot. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. If you end up adopting the belief system, you are told how to conduct yourself. When you have flu, you must get a vaccine. When you have this, you must do this. This is how you talk. This is how you must pray. We are programmed, and we are programmed. It carries on. When you go through a state of awakening, because some beings, even though when they come into this physical plane, something in them sort of like has it's like it's ticking. It's always in conflict with the programs. I had that, and I battled for a long time to make our planet Earth my home, because I always felt I was in conflict with the programs in place.
Mm-hmm. I'm sure many do. Yeah.
Yes, and when you're in conflict with the programs in place, you become a loner. Firstly, you have to go to school. Okay, the first 7 years, I think most things I learned from my parents and other things. Then you go to school, you are programmed. You go to varsity, you are programmed. You start working, the government programs you. Religion programs you. And if you don't go insane, which I did a bit, and then I came back, I don't know how we cope. Because you either lose it or you join them. You either become a robot or you awaken and you embrace the divinity and the consciousness in you, and you allow the spirit to guide.
I think what you're talking about is so fascinating in the contrast, because we started with the sense of flow, the water, right? And then it hits the little particles, and then it's got the immaterial of mind that's there in essence. And then in your description of the programming is the artificiality that that is no longer coming from being, it's coming from rote, R-O-T-E. It's just a message that's being habituated, right? There's no interaction in that learning. And what you're describing is how it's inherent in us as young to take in information. And what kind we take in from all the different formats that we are exposed to depends upon how it's still relating to that essence, that immaterial that's in there already. And that gets overlaid with all these different systems and beliefs and considerations. And it can get away if it's not being presented in a way that accentuates and brings out the essence in each of us. It becomes a covering, it becomes an armor, it becomes something that we lose touch of. And it takes us to these places that you're describing, like for yourself. How do we reconcile all this? And what is happening is your essence awakening. That's what awakens, not the human so much. It's the essence awakens out of the covering of self. Because I can just see this as, okay, here we are, and then all this stuff overlays, and then essence forms and like the plant out of all that. It is part of all that. You find your way out of all that. And that's what you've described so beautifully, is how we can be hard and soft and wet and dry, and all these different contrasts that are present in each of us. And whoa, yeah, that was really quite an unfolding there. So what do we do? How do we stick with our awareness of essence? Yeah.
Okay. We're going back. We're talking about diseases or disease or illness. Mm-hmm. I'm actually glad that science is now catching up with indigenous healing practices a bit, because or whatever, or alternative medicine, I should put it that way.
Yeah.
Because studies have been made, and they've discovered that 95% of our lifestyle, or the life that we lead, which impacts our relationship, our well-being and health, is from our subconscious mind, the program part of our being. And only 5% from the consciousness. So we're going back to disease or illnesses. So if 95%, which is a high percentage, drives you in program, you are driven by that program, which means if you experience whatever you experience, it's not going to be muchly guided by the consciousness, the spirit. Is going to be more from the subconscious, the program. And when it's like that, the subconscious, the minute you think that you work on autopilot and you feel powerless, and you feel your body is disintegrating, you feeling sick and you powerless, because you have actually isolated yourself, which is the consciousness of being a creator. You tend to think that the solution to your program is external. You're no longer a creator. Because you are driven by the subconscious in an autopilot mode. You want solutions and you look external, forgetting that the power lies within, because you are your own creator. You can create your reality that you want. You can heal yourself. You can actually even change the programs. It's a choice. You can change the programs. Yes. I went through that. I was programmed 7 years, studying to all these institutions. But I had to choose, does this serve the consciousness in me or it doesn't? And I had to change the program. I haven't even arrived. I'm still on a journey of dealing with some of the programs that are still impacting my thinking patterns and how I respond to certain things. Yeah. But now and again, how do I catch myself? It's when the spirit in me, the divinity in me, the creator in me makes me aware that you are surrendering your divine power, you're giving it away, and you think the solution is out there. Reclaim it, because the power lies within me.
Got it. Okay, so you've brought up, okay, so what comes to mind here is what I notice about life in my own experience with health and in dealing with other people and being aware of how energy works and so forth, is that I think we are coming from some basic assumptions that don't serve us as humanity. And one is that war is a given. And I think we take that into areas where it's really not needed. We have set up that everything is a case of adversity. Our bodies are a case of adversity, and that I have turned my immune system into a battlefield, that I have an autoimmune system. And what an immune system does, and I see this for, that's the focus, but it's big picture here we're talking about, is that when I can switch from how is it useful, this is what I've come to learn in doing this work, how is it useful what I'm experiencing? How is this disease? How is this ache? Because what you're talking about is that underneath all of it is our ability to manifest and be creator. And so I am not going to be at war with that. I'm going to step back and reframe that whole thing that I learned and that medicine can teach in many ways, and probably, might be more influenced by this, that, and the other thing, and take a new approach. And the approach is to realize that how is this useful? And that it's not about doing battle with myself or with anyone else. It is about noticing the holes in my wholeness, that everyone has them in some way, and that we're all exercising how we feel connected, and how we feel connected to our own sense of spirit, our own consciousness, our own self. I mean, all these different levels that we've been talking about. And that if I don't have to compete, if I don't have to be aggressive, if I don't have to be at war, because if I'm a warrior, and so many people embrace warrior behavior, and in its context, it's fine. The challenge is that a warrior must have war. It doesn't have peace. It has a peaceful warrior is still a contradiction in terms. So when you're relating that you're waiting for the next thing, I'm at peacetime, but I'm ready to go, is straddling the state of this or that, right? So if my environment, if I hold that being present here is useful, I am here. I am here because I'm here. I don't need to question that. And for many people, that's their question all their life. Why am I here? I don't like it here. And once you get past that, once you get under that, and you realize and you invite yourself to awaken to the truth of being, and you realize this is performance art. All of this is performance art. And it is the way we entertain ourselves as consciousness, as spirit. It's taken something that went from making distinctions into making judgments. And when you make a judgment, you got a hard thing. And now the mind can go on to the next thing, because now it knows what that thing is. It's always about placement, about being in relation to something as in being. It's all about relation-oriented. And what you also brought into play was, in your earlier part of the conversation, how we are nature, how there's no difference between you, me, the tree, and the cloud out there, except for the level of awareness and the form that it takes. but how water is essential to what happens on this planet and around it, which is probably pretty unique to the cosmos from what we're seeing the more we explore the cosmos. How unique this place is, how unique we are. And what you did, and that's what I wanted to get back to, was you brought us into, I could feel this unfolding into the flow, right? I could feel that water. I could feel all that water in me being recognized in a way it wasn't. And that was inviting me to release, and I don't use the word, let's see. We were talking about this the last couple of days about surrender and resistance and this kind of thing. What it does is it's not even a question of that for me. It's a statement of being. That there is, if I take the humanity judgment out of it, right? If I just look, water flows everywhere. And I think we were talking about this yesterday. The water will go. It will always go unless it doesn't. And what it does is that it will eventually change the walls that hold it where it is. That is the incredible gift and awareness if you live long enough and have enough perspective to appreciate. Right? We got all these 100-year-old water planes we move into. Well, there was no water here, but now there is. That's because it's been there and it will come back to it. It knows where it's been. And I just think this is, in the sense of health and wholeness, and if we take these judgments out, right? That we have to have a good fight. And a good fight. We like a good fight. We like a good fight in the context. We like a good fight. We don't like a good fight when it's about different contexts, when it's being used in different ways that are not life enriching, right? They may be life taking. And that is something I would question. So if we just, and everyone is different and they're in different places in all this awareness. So we're looking at those that are listening in here and taking this new awareness that if there was nothing to resist, not because it's about resistance, but because you just are. We're freeing ourselves of our judgments about how something has to be. That's the delight of consciousness and essence and soul and spirit, whatever our words are that we use, is that it doesn't have agenda. It just is. And we're the ones who have set this terrain up this way. And still, life goes on. That tree is still out there. And if I cut that tree down, I have to take that root system out, you know, or it still stays there. And so if I invite the tree to go, okay, let me be with you. Like I've seen so often with different cultures that do this, that let me appreciate you in your place and me here, and how can we interact and be okay with the different ways we are in essence. And when we come into alignment with that, those roots might pull up easier, or it might just get more solid and I go, you know, it really is okay there. Right? It gives us a chance to interact and not be adversarial. Because if I'm not at war, I'm not adversarial. I'm open. I'm curious. And how the body handles all these conversations, and when we're not paying attention and symptoms start to develop of some sort, and they have a way of getting our attention, and they can become quite dramatic or they can become quite subtle and go on for long periods of time before we have a way to pay attention, before we develop our own language to say, something's going on here. What am I not noticing? You know, that's where I'm feeling we are right now. So go on, tell us more.
the body, or let's also expand our understanding in remembering that we are an electromagnetic beings. There's an electromagnetic field that runs in us. Mm-hmm. And those who are sensitive to the electromagnetic field of our planet, Mother Earth, because actually we feed into Mother Earth electromagnetic field as much as she feeds into our field. Mm-hmm. So whatever I know that because when something happens, sometimes I think it's actually me feeling my body, but then I realize it's because I'm picking up the shift of what is happening in the planet. Like recently, I was off balance, and you had to help me to regain my balance because I was really this planetary transition and the shifting because of the Earth grid also taps into our electromagnetic field, and I felt it deep because of deep connections I have with planet.
Yeah, right.
And we need to understand that when you understand that we are energy beings, we have an electromagnetic field, and we feel everything around us, and it's a flow. Energy is continuously flowing. It feeds into our field, and we feed into that field. You meet people, they tap into your field, you also tap into their field. That it's very important, because when you understand that, remember, it's not just feeling the vibration. Sometimes it goes so deep that it even goes into the cellular level. It interferes with your cellular level. And awaken, you will notice immediately that there's been a shift. You off balance. And when you can notice immediately, then you can balance. I always say I zoom in. You zoom in and you balance, and you back into the grid of the Earth grid, because no man is an island. We all feed into Mother Earth. We all feeding into the grid of Mother Earth. Whatever we do to her, it bounces back to us, because we are made of the same elements. So when we go back to disease is a result of not living in harmony with self, and the planet, because we are interconnected. When we talk about the whole, H-U-H-O-L-E, the whole. If you do anything that puts the planet, Mother Earth, nature at a risk, you're doing it to yourself, because we are in a grid. It feeds back to you. So if we interfere, I'm talking about energy before I go to cellular level. If we interfere with the energy, the vibration in circulation, the vibration in motion that's holding our planet, you're interfering with yourself, and you're interfering with anything around, because we're all interconnected. We interfere with the plant kingdom, the animal kingdom, because we're also animals. You're interfering with everything. So human, we tend to forget, and we've actually put ourselves in this pyramid. We've put ourselves at the top. Everything must be under us. Yeah, and it's not right. It's a big mistake, and it's an illusion. We actually think that we rule and we control. And let me say this. No wonder we are where we are at the moment, because we have not awakened to the fact that we are all interconnected and interdependent to everything. Animal kingdom, everything in existence, we depend on it. We are interdependent. As much as we depend on Mother Earth for nourishment and for everything. Let me say this, and let me repeat it. Mother Earth also depends on us.
Of course. Yes. Right.
Mother Earth on us.
I
want to put more emphasis on disease because we're talking about disease. Having studied medicine, Western approach in medicine, when a patient comes in, it's more of, okay, you sign a consent form for treatment, and then you surrender your power to the physician. You get prescribed medication, and then you're a passive participant. Basically, you must just drink those prescribed medication, and if it doesn't work, the next thing you will be advised, let's go surgery. You are a passive participant.
Yes.
Spiritual dynamics, it's not even entertained. Not at all. You walk in, they look at the body, a tip of an iceberg. They look at the body and not even the whole body. What's wrong with you? If it's a headache, they deal with the headache. If it's your toe, they deal with your toe.
Yeah. Okay. So you're so powerful in this. All right. So you've brought up several premises to consider, right? To look at and how we look at being wholeness. And I can see that if everyone's okay with this, we're going to extend this, and I'll make these 2 shows because there's so much information here. Mmatheo, we'll do this as a part 1 and a part 2. So at some point, Boyd, my sound engineer, we're going to go longer, I think, if Mmatheo has the time also, and we'll just expand on this. So to date, what I'm hearing is that in our creativity as essence, as individuals, that we create our diseases, we create what we feel in disconnect, etc. Now, and we want to be clear that it's not a sense that you're intentionally trying to hurt oneself. You didn't create your cancer in order to punish yourself or to do these things. If you find yourself dealing with those kind of processes, what we're looking at is how the process itself is bringing you information, and your creativity was in how you did that. And that we have to, you're opening us up to the idea again, Mmatheo, about how long is a life? What is a life? What is the quality of a life? We have all these assumptions we're working under, and that how much do we participate in being us, and how we've set up processes where we have something, if we are feeling directed enough because it's acceptable to go get some help because that's acceptable enough. And I'm thinking in terms of mental health where, we're really quasi on whether we'll go get someone to help us with that arena of our lives. If we do go to a doctor, how often we have seemed to have set up that they are the authority, that they know what's best for me. And depending upon the kind of doctor that is, in his own humanity, in his own development of his spiritual awareness, and in looking at his patients in a sense of context and the totality of their life, because I think this is what good doctors do. And you can be good at being a surgeon, but not be a very nice person. Okay, so we're looking at, I'm describing the kind of doctor who takes all of your in and sees how your disease is part of that as an expression of what's going on. Most people, I'll make this rash statement. Most people, I think, are unaware of the context of how they create in their life. They're unaware how that could be related to this, and how this and that are related to them. And it's all about looking at how we express ourselves in the world, in being us, and our frames of reference, and our biases, and our setup about the way the world works, and who we are in it, and how it works. And then we get all these different layers, which you were describing, of interconnection. and that how in any one moment we are just this totally dynamic, multi-dimensional experience in being, and that all these different influences are interacting with us. So when our neighbor or our family member is having an issue, or we're feeling the solar flares, or we're doing this, depending upon the level of awareness, the sensitivity that we have, depends upon how our own field, our own integrity of the body holds itself together. And then it can be in this flow, it can be more impressed, it can be more, have a feeling of branded, it can have a feeling of invasion, it can have all these different kinds of interactions that it's going to respond to. And then it's us and how our being, how that immune system, and that's the trouble with that word, is how it interacts in integrity. I think it's a system of integrity. I think it is, its nature is to look at what comes into the body and how it works in alignment with what its directive is in keeping this sense of wholeness. And it goes to work. It has the intelligence, the consciousness present in it that says we're going to respond this way. Now, that can certainly get out of whack and overtaxed, and if you're constantly in an environment where that is operating, or it gets in a stuck position, and, we have all these processes where something could be having a miscommunication. That's what we call disease, is where all those different layers are working together, and you feel the pain in your neck. And so certainly in the work that I do as consciousness technologies and being present and working with clients about that, we can see how you can feel something right in the moment. We open that field up, like the way this field is right now, and it disappears. It changes. The pattern shifts, because it has no meaning in this context anymore. It's in a different state of engagement. It's just gone. And so often I'll have a client standing there looking at me going, frantically searching for what they were, been pressing upon them for the last 2 months, and it's gone. Because as consciousness, time and space are malleable. So those rules get fuzzied, they get wobbly, they get wiggly, they get where things happen. So what you're inviting us to do is to notice all that we interact with, how to retain our own sense of, we know best our essence if we pay attention, right? But notice how when a doctor will suggest something and you don't have enough within you to challenge that, but you have enough within you to say, yeah, okay, we'll do that. And then you have nothing but problems because underlying was you didn't agree with it, so now the medicine doesn't work. Or you had some kind of ambivalence about it and the medicine works ambivalently on you, or it just takes over, or now I need 5 more, and I'm in a belief system or framework that says more is better, right? When it isn't, because what it is, it's diluting your own essence that knows what one needs, and it's our skill set to navigate all these different ways. And this is where I'm going to stop our conversation for today. You'll pick up the rest of it in episode 10. Here are some references Mmatheo thought would be helpful. For a great explanation about the intersections of medical systems, she suggests Body as Garden or Machine, the difference between Western and Eastern medicine, available on the chalkboardmag.com. Recommended books include 2 of Mmatheo Motsisi's books, Of Water and the Spirit and The Healing Wisdom of Africa, her own book, Odyssey of a Healer, and Carolyn Mace Anatomy of the Spirit, and Bruce Lipton, The Biology of Belief. Consider our following bits of wisdom about wholeness and water as spirit from Mmatheo's own book, Odyssey of a Healer, page 257. To awaken is to be mindful of each drop of water that is released by the sea, changes into rain and snow, and as it conceals itself deep in the recesses of the earth, it eventually overflows and returns to the sea. Not in a straight line, but on a path of least resistance. When it finally reaches its destination, sweet and purified by the journey, it unites with the source. They are one again, not one of the many, but one of the same self. Wholeness is not achieved by cutting off a portion of one's being, but an integration of the contraries. Carl Jung. And here, for me, the wholeness of a being is not limited to its forms and senses. It is not just what it thinks and feels it is. Wholeness includes what one holds out of awareness. My blog this week is a reissue. Consciousness and Recognizing People as Big Chunks of Cheese. It is from my regular blog, Life in the Beyond. You might wonder what cheese has to do with wholeness. You will just have to read along. For more information about Mmatheo, her complete bio, and all the things she offers in her practice, you can reach her at her website, www.mmatheomotsisi.com. Her book, Odyssey of a Healer, is available on Amazon. For the correct spelling of Mmatheo's name and links, you can read them at the episode 9 of Journeys into Enlightenment podcast page at my website, www.janetandbeyond.com. Thank you for joining me here at Journeys into Enlightenment with Janet. You can continue to join us every 2 weeks here on the CTR network. You can post any questions or comments there or email me directly at janetandbeyondpodcast.com. For more information about all the elements that make up each episode, they are on my podcast page at my website, www.janetandbeyond.com. You will also find information there about my other podcast show, Conscious Conversations with Joan and Janet, and about my work with clients. You can sign up to receive my regular weekly blog, Life in the Beyond, Journeys into Enlightenment. You will also find out about the Fuzzy Photons playground groups I offer. Live interactive space via Zoom video conferencing on your favorite device on Thursdays. If you're looking for other regular opportunities to sit in heart-centered awareness with others and explore life, you will find it here. You can follow each episode of this podcast series on my YouTube channel, Journeys into Enlightenment with Janet Barrett. Till the next time, feel the difference in this moment. It is real, and it can last a lifetime.